Some women walk into any room, and something happens. People notice. It's not the most expensive clothes. It's not the highest heels. It's something most can't name, but feel immediately. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what that something is. There's a curious thing that happens when you understand certain visual codes of elegance. People start reading you in a completely different way, without you having to say a word. And almost always, those codes are in the jewelry. Not just any jewelry, not in the quantity of jewelry. In 6 very specific choices that elegant women make almost without thinking. Let's start with the one nobody expects to be the most powerful. Code 1, the classic minimalist watch. The watch that speaks before you do. Think about this. What's the first piece of jewelry people see when you're in conversation? Not the earrings, not the necklace. It's the watch. Because you're constantly gesturing, greeting, paying, pointing, and the wrist appears before anything else. Now, the difference between an ordinary watch and a classy one isn't in the price, it's in the silence. An elegant watch has a clean dial, space, minimal information, as if it's saying, I don't need to impress you with details. This is exactly what the luxury world calls quiet luxury, and it's the language the upper class has spoken for decades. The flashy watch with a huge logo and a dial full of complications, it shouts. The minimalist one whispers, and anyone who's truly elegant always prefers the whisper. One thing that makes an immediate difference: the metal of the watch has to match the metal of your other jewelry. All gold, or all silver. Mixing reads as careless, even if each piece is beautiful on its own. This is a detail stylists teach, but almost nobody applies. But before we talk about the next piece of jewelry, there's a mistake most women make with earrings, and it erases all the elegance from the look. Code 2, the medium gold or silver hoop, the frame that directs everything. There's one piece of jewelry that does something no other does. It frames your face. The medium hoop, about 1.5 to 2 inches, delicate wire, gold or silver, works like a frame. It doesn't steal the show. It directs people's gaze toward you, not toward the jewelry, and that completely changes how people perceive you. When you move your head, the hoop moves with you in a subtle motion. When you speak, it catches the light. It's dynamic, it's feminine, it's elegant without effort. The mistake I mentioned, wearing hoops that are too big or too small. The tiny one is so discreet it doesn't register. The large one, 3 inches or more, starts to look like a costume piece, which is the opposite of class. The medium is the exact sweet spot. Here's a trick elegant women know. The medium hoop is the only piece of jewelry that literally works with everything. Jeans, a ball gown, a meeting blazer, a casual top. It doesn't need context. It creates the context. Imagine 2 women heading into the same important meeting. One wears an elaborate chandelier earring. The other wears a medium gold hoop. The second one looks more in control, more established, and can't always explain why. Code 3, the thin solitaire ring. What your hands are communicating. Think about how many times your hands are visible throughout a day. You hold a glass at a reception. You hand over a business card. You shake someone's hand. You gesture during a presentation. Your hands communicate constantly, and the right ring completely transforms that communication. We're talking about a thin ring. A band 1 to 2 millimeters wide, one small single stone, or simply a smooth band in gold or silver. No excess, no stacking, no showiness, because a thin ring communicates something a flashy ring can't. It says you've mastered the principle that less is more, and that mastery on its own is read as sophistication. There's an interesting psychological trick here. A well-chosen thin ring makes the entire hand look more elegant. It's not the ring that looks beautiful. It's the hand that becomes beautiful because of the ring. The rule is simple: 2 rings maximum total, 1 on each hand, or 2 different fingers on the same hand. More than that starts to look like accumulation, not style. And now there's something about the neck that transforms entire necklines with barely a thread. Code 4, the delicate fine chain necklace, the line that elongates everything. There's a piece of jewelry that doesn't draw attention to itself. It draws attention to your décolletage, to your neck, to the elegance of the entire area. It's the fine chain, about a millimeter thick, length exactly 16 to 18 inches, ending just below the collarbone. That length isn't random. It visually lengthens the neck, creates a line that guides the eye upward, toward the face, and completes any neckline without dominating it. The version without a pendant is absolute minimalism, pure line, pure elegance. The version with a pendant, when one exists, should be subtle. A small diamond, a single pearl, a delicate initial. A large pendant is the most common mistake. It breaks the line and becomes the wrong focal point. Now here's the rule with no exceptions. The metal of the chain must match the metal of the watch and the hoop, always. When the jewelry speaks to each other, the effect is intentional. When they compete, the effect is haphazard. But there's one piece of jewelry that carries centuries of elegance codes. And whoever wears it, well, sends a message no other piece can convey. Code 5, the classic pearl, the code of centuries. Jackie Kennedy wore them. Grace Kelly wore them. Queen Elizabeth wore them for decades. The pearl isn't a trend. It's above trends. It's the oldest code of feminine elegance that exists, and it keeps working because what it communicates doesn't change. Effortless sophistication. But here's what most people don't know about pearls. An imitation destroys exactly what the real one builds. A plastic pearl looks like costume jewelry. A quality cultured pearl, with that deep, almost mirror-like luster, with the subtle weight only the real thing has, immediately communicates that the person knows the difference. A pearl stud earring in 8 to 10 millimeters is the most versatile version. It works from job interviews to weddings. It doesn't compete with anything. It just elevates. And the rule with pearls is exactly the opposite of all the others. You don't add. You let the pearl be the only statement. A pearl earring with minimalist jewelry around it is perfect. A pearl earring with an elaborate necklace is excess that cancels everything out. Pearls demand restraint, and restraint in the world of elegance is power. Now here's the code that less than 1% of women use, and for that very reason, it communicates more than anything else on this list. And don't forget, you don't need a closet full of clothes to be elegant. You just need strategy. If you want to learn how to turn 15 pieces into over 150 elegant looks, the link to my complete guide is right below in the pinned comment. Download it and stop struggling in front of the mirror. And if you're watching on TV, just scan the QR code that appears on the screen or in the corner of the video. Code 6, the discreet brooch. The detail that separates the elegant from the connoisseurs. There's a detail diplomats wear, that Queen Elizabeth wore to almost every formal engagement, that appears in photos of powerful women throughout history, and that today almost nobody wears. The brooch. And that's exactly why it works so well. When 99% of women wear earrings, necklaces, and rings, the woman who shows up with a discreet brooch on a lapel or neckline communicates something immediate. She knows jewelry beyond the obvious. She has historical reference. She understands that elegance is the unexpected detail. But there's a critical rule. The brooch has to be small, 2 to 4 centimeters maximum. Classic design, a delicate bow, a stylized flower, a clean geometric shape. Real materials. A large flashy brooch is costume jewelry, masquerading as fine jewelry. Where to wear it? On the blazer lapel, left side, just below the collarbone. On the neckline of a dress, slightly off-center. On a silk scarf, tied at the neck. On a cardigan in place of a button. Each of these positions has a different code, and all communicate the same thing. Attention to details most people miss. The most modern trick, place the brooch somewhere unexpected. On the strap of a structured bag, on a belt, on the collar of a trench coat. Then it stops being vintage and becomes contemporary sophisticated. What changes when you understand these codes? 6 pieces of jewelry, 6 codes. The minimalist watch that speaks about you before you speak. The hoop that frames your face and creates elegant dynamism. The thin ring that transforms how people perceive your hands. The delicate chain that completes what the clothing begins. The pearl that carries centuries of sophistication in a single gesture. And the brooch, The detail that separates those who like fashion from those who truly understand style. None of these pieces need to cost a fortune. What they need is visible quality, coordinated metals, and the discipline to never overdo it. Because elegance, at its core, is always about what you decide not to wear, as much as what you choose to put on. The woman who walks into a room and makes people notice without knowing why, she's mastered exactly that. Tell me in the comments, which of these pieces of jewelry do you already wear, and which one will you try? And if you want to know what the elegance codes in clothing are that work the same way as these, with the same quiet luxury logic, that's the next video.